This video is brought to you by Matt Granger Uncut, my brand new Patreon page that brings you behind the scenes on photo shoots like this one and more with unseen images and raw uncut video footage. Check it out, full details are below.
Hi folks, welcome back to Hong Kong. Today I'm with lovely Cara. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to test out a couple of my favorite manual focus lenses. Actually the only ones that I still regularly shoot with. You would have seen them in budgetography and that kind of thing. We're in kind of a noisy location, but I think it's going to be really fun. We're going to shoot with Cara and with Honey, show you each of these different lenses, what I love about them, and give you some sample files to download. Okay, the first of the lenses I wanted to show you, and this isn't in order of my favorite, this is the TT Artisan 50 0.95, and I'll say from the beginning, it's not a fantastically well built lens. The focus ring has completely detached. I need to find the world's smallest Allen key to tighten it up. And to be honest, it's just about that crazy shallow depth of field. I'll be perfectly honest, the idea of spending $13,500 on the Leica version to me is crazy. I've seen maybe a dozen shots that are amazing taken by that lens, but generally it's how wispy the background is, and you have like a 1 in 1,000 chance of actually nailing the focus on like an eyeball if you're shooting wide open. So spending like 5% maybe for a much cheaper option to get 60% of the result is fine for me. Tell you what, now shooting with these fast lenses, I really wish Nikon would put the manual focus subject detection on all their cameras, not just the retro ones. Good thing in a way about this lens, it's all about the bokeh, so I'm actually not too fussed if it's perfectly in focus or just close. So something unusual about this lens, it's really one where I would say just shoot it wide open. You get huge vignetting, loss of sharpness, loss of contrast. Surprisingly, when you stop down to 2.28 around there, it's actually really quite sharp, but it's so clinical and boring. All the character is gone. So I'm going to shoot this wide open, but I'll get some stop down just to show you. This little guy, it's an MS Optics 50mm F1.0 made in Japan by a guy who apparently used to design telescopes and hand makes these one by one. This is a limited edition gold color one, not that that makes a difference. Accidentally, I have unscrewed this a couple of times and just had the lens elements topple out of it, but I just put it back together and it still works fine. This one I think was around $1,000. It was an anniversary gift, still a lot of money, but it gives a really interesting result. Don't know that it justifies the price though, but it also has something like 72 aperture blades on it, so super smooth and creamy bokeh. So I don't use it that often, but I do love the effect you get. Like there's two people walking towards me right now and they just are colorful soap bubbles in the distance. Their bags and everything they carry just turn to bubbles. But again, being 50mm lenses, if you're up too close, you're gonna get that distortion coming in. But from a distance, we still get crazy shallow depth of field. And what do you have there?
I don't know, let's see.
Ta-da! I gave you the luxury lens. This is the most fancy one. I say that most of these are inexpensive, but this one is actually ridiculously expensive. This is the Leica Summilux f1.4 35mm lens. This isn't the latest generation, it's the older one. I like shooting with this on the Nikons. It gives a really nice result. It's obviously M mount. So I use it via adapter. To be honest, the only reason I really still have this is I put it up on carousel to sell and the buyer flaked on me and never came to buy it, and then I have forgotten to sell it again. So I still like to have a really fast 35 in the mix. So whilst I say that I only have this because it didn't sell, that's kind of true, kind of not. I will say that I don't want to attract hate either way. Shoot with what you love. If you're enjoying the shooting process, that's all that matters. Personally, I think when people talk about the Leica look, a lot of it is nonsense. That a lot of it is just they're enjoyable to shoot with, but the lenses aren't that spectacular. I will say I really enjoy shooting this with this. I don't think the images are noticeably better than a normal 35 1.4 that costs 10% of the price, but I do love that it's so small and that it's so beautifully made. To be honest, if I were tossing up whether I would buy one now at new prices, I probably wouldn't, but for some reason on photographer's math logic, it feels like an easier decision to keep it and not sell it than it is to actually buy it, if that makes sense. So it looks beautiful at 1.4 and at f2, but any 35 1.4 will really get the job done. So when you have a manual focus lens, it's a good quality one. It's not that hard to get focused, but a couple of tips.
Wow.
The Z8 and Z9 don't have the manual focus detect like the ZF does and the Z6 III, which will detect the face and move around so that when you hit zoom in, it goes straight to the face. Here you still have to navigate around and find that for yourself. So I recommend shooting with peaking on, focus wide open, have peaking on the low setting so it only shows you peaking on the parts that are really in focus, then you can stop down from there. If you focus when you're at like F8, it's probably going to show you everything in focus even though you haven't really hit it. So that's what we were doing today. Let's head to the studio and test out the rest of those lenses. Okay, so we are now indoors, clearly, in the studio. I'm going to switch out and use the F-mount lenses now. So Cara is just fixing up her makeup. Then we're going to have her change into this Santa's helper costume and shoot for this series and also for Patreon Uncut. That's going to be for the Uncut members. That includes full nudity, so you can check that out below. So you can see I've just got the peaking on there, it's just coming in the eyes. So I'll be completely honest, the reason I bought this lens is that it's famously the one that Steve McCurry took his famous Afghan girl portrait with, or a variation of it, but I believe it was this actual one. And it kind of got me thinking, and this was years ago, this was when I was living in New York, probably 6 or 7 years ago, that, you know, I go from this high-end gear to that high-end gear, and I look back at some of my shots and I'm like, oh, that shot from 10 years ago, I still love it, even though it was taken with gear that now is much cheaper than what I tend to shoot with. And this hasn't gotten worse, and the focusing aids have gotten better, so there's no reason that I can't get Nat Geo quality images with this lens if I'm good enough. So that's kind of why I got it. No excuses, just go shoot. And I do really love the look of this one. I would say it doesn't have a huge amount of character. Like, you wouldn't look at it and then instantly know, oh, that was this particular model. But for the size, weight, price, I think it's a really nice one. And the build is great. The focus throw is really nice and long. You just can't go wrong with this one. It's really one of those perfect quality used lenses that aren't expensive, that's really accessible. All right, switching to the 50 Kogaku. It's not optically spectacular, but I really like it. It's got a really loose, like you see how easy that is to go back and forth. You compare it to the Zenit, and it's so tight. That actually makes it a lot easier for manual focusing. So let's do the two of these, maybe as a side-by-side. They're the two 50s I have here. So at 1.4, this one's really not sharp. Stopping it down to 2. We're going to get a bit more out of it. But the interesting thing, this Helios, the one that I chose to keep, even though it's a maximum f2, I feel it's sharper and has more interesting bokeh. That's actually a nice point. Why do I keep this one? Maybe just because I like that it's Nippon Kogaku instead of Nikko. So it's the earlier brand of lenses. But I actually think this one, which is much cheaper, Soviet era lens, I think it's more interesting and probably optically better. So maybe this one's going to go for sale. Let's see. I take it back, it's not sharper. So we're getting a nice soft background there, but let me just show you what we would be getting with the fast aperture lenses from the same distance. Okay, let's see. Well, the 0.95 has the adapter, so let's go with it. So I mean, it goes without saying that f2 to f0.95 is going to be a big difference. So my last frame was, okay, oh, that's it again. Similar. So sitting up a little bit more. This is good. Interesting. This lens seems wider. How interesting. Why is that? I was right in on your cape before using the other lens, and this one, well, let me show you. I'm right at the edge of my seat now, and this is the frame we're getting. Still bokeh-licious, but nowhere near how close I was on the, oh, because it's a 58. Duh. Why am I so confused? It was like here though. Cute, 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 cute. So look, I do enjoy these lenses. I don't get them out that often, but if you're looking to make use of them, you know, being that these are F and M mount lenses, they're going to adapt to most mirrorless cameras these days. You just want to get a good adapter. I'll link you to the ones that I use below. I'll have details of the lenses below. They're not all easily linkable because they're not something you can buy new, but maybe somewhere like KEH or one of the used sites will have them, but I'll have their model numbers so you can search them out. You can also check out the sample files below, as well as Patreon Uncut and the upcoming Naughty or Nice theme shoot. So let me know any questions you have. Check out Kara's Instagram and have a Merry Christmas. See you guys.
Merry Christmas.